exclude junk food from SNAP benefits. Also, the head of the Houston Parks Board and her thoughts on how changing bike infrastructure is affecting local cyclists. I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
And I'm Ernie Manous. If you're into video games and movies based on those games, you'll enjoy our conversation with the man behind the Nerdtropolis website.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. You're a big part of this program, and we want to hear from you. Call us now at 713-440-8870. You can also watch us live on YouTube.
We've had a great first week of Hello Houston, and we're excited about what's ahead. Thanks for listening.
But first, the news from NPR and News 88.7. This is Hello Houston. Stay with us.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The major sell-off on Wall Street's extending into a second straight day. At last check, we see the Dow is now down nearly 1,500 points, or 3.6%. The S&P's lost more than 4%. The Nasdaq down also more than 4%. Same day that the government's reporting stronger than expected job growth last month, 228,000 jobs gained. Global markets are roiled by President Trump's sweeping tariffs this week. NPR's Amy Held reports on how much more people in the U.S. will be paying for everyday items.
Consumer prices are expected to rise from President Trump's tariffs this year. According to an analysis by the Yale Budget Lab, among the most affected items, clothing will get up to 17% pricier. And food, fresh produce prices especially, projected to go up 4%. Wesley McCain says paying for basics at the supermarket will get harder.
We already have a hard time affording groceries here in Seattle because it's a very high cost of living.
The Yale Budget Lab says lower-income families will feel the biggest burden, a loss of about $1,700 a year. Trump officials argue that short-term pain will lead to long-term economic benefits. Amy Held, NPR News.
The head of the National Security Agency and his deputy have been fired, according to two prominent Democrats in Congress. NPR's Greg Myrie reports this marks the latest dismissal of a senior military officer by the Trump administration.
Air Force General Timothy Hawk served just over a year as director of the NSA, the spy agency that collects cyber intelligence worldwide. Senator Mark Warner and Representative Jim Himes, the top Democrats on the Senate and House Intelligence Committees, issued late-night statements criticizing the firing. The NSA declined to comment on the dismissal of Hawk and his deputy, Wendy Noble, who is a civilian. The move came just hours after several members of the National Security Council at the White House were also fired. The Trump administration previously dismissed several top military officers, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General C.Q. Brown. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Washington.
Trump's expected to announce a TikTok deal today to stave off a ban of the video app. Here's NPR's Bobby Allen.
The agreement Trump is pushing would create a new U.S. entity to be spun off to oversee TikTok's U.S. operation. TikTok's secret sauce algorithm would still be controlled and updated by owner ByteDance in China, but it would be licensed to the new entity. ByteDance's stake would be below 20%, which is required under the federal law forcing TikTok to divest from China. Since Trump took office, he said he would save TikTok, despite trying to ban the app in his first term. He's talked about there being tremendous interest in the app used by half of Americans. But for months, the top contender in the deal has been Oracle, which is run by Trump ally Larry Ellison.
It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Matt Thomas. New this hour from the Texas Health and Human Services Department, there are now 481 measles cases, still mostly in West Texas, and majority in unvaccinated school-aged children. That's up from 422 earlier this week, and the number of individuals in the hospital is up more than a dozen to 56. Here in Harris County, a case that is still under investigation as to whether it might be tied to the large West Texas outbreak, again, is still being looked into. That was announced yesterday. This is a child who did reportedly have one dose of the measles vaccine and is recovering. Centerpoint Energy has reached a deal with the state to absorb the cost of the large mobile generators, at least, valued at close to $900 million. News 88.7 government reporter Andrew Schneider says The move follows months of intense criticism by lawmakers after the generators proved useless to avert widespread power outages in the Houston area following Hurricane Beryl.
Centerpoint Executive Vice President Jason Ryan told the Senate Business and Commerce Committee that customers would be made whole for what they've already been charged related to the generators. That will mean lower bills for customers.
This includes a multi-year base rate reduction that will be implemented for all of our customers before the end of this month, as well as our agreement to forego a portion of the costs that we incurred responding to Hurricane Beryl that would otherwise have been charged to customers starting later this year.
Ryan said the company will donate the generators to ERCOT for the remaining 2 years of the lease, absorbing the full costs of the lease going forward. I'm Andrew Schneider, News 88.7.
It's a weekend to be paying attention to the weather. As for today, just a slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm later this afternoon with highs in the upper 80s and a wind advisory. But tomorrow we could have some severe thunderstorms in the afternoon. I'm Matt Thomas, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive. Progressive Commercial Auto Insurance protects the vehicles that work to keep small businesses moving forward, including protection while running errands and other tasks at progressivecommercial.com.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And hello, Houston, on
Hello,
this Friday.
Houston.
Happy Friday. We made
Friday.
it.
We made it.
Yeah. If you're listening to the show, you're only getting half the story. Isn't that what that old promo was? Because we are live on the World Wide Web, as I like to say. YouTube has us. You can watch us there at youtube.com/Houston Public Media and always see what we're doing right here in studio.
Yes, and we're looking at the weather closely. We have some big changes coming this weekend.
Okay, before we get to what's happening to us, I woke up this morning to really devastating weather across the country.
Oh, it's like Little Rock to Louisville with the flooding and the tornado outbreak. I think I said on Monday or Tuesday that this could end up being a record-setting tornado season because we've already had so many in March and so many, and it's just April. It's the first week of April, and we're already seeing these outbreaks, and they're going to see another one. We're going to get the tail end of this front, which means tomorrow we may see a few showers tonight, but tomorrow, especially in the morning, this front finally comes through here, and that's when we could see some severe thunderstorms come through. Then behind it, and we're looking at 6 degrees again today. Behind this front on Sunday, we're going to get very windy and very cold, so that the highs on Sunday will be in the 50s and the lows overnight will be in the 30s, which means Sunday night is going to be perfect for bundling up in front of the TV to watch White Lotus.
Okay. Before we get obsessed into all that and get into the headlines, I quickly want to know. So Saturday, after this rain comes through,
windy and cold.
When will that clear? What are we looking at Saturday?
It looks like the rains will come in the morning and early afternoon. Then that gets on out of here, and we start to see it.
Gets out of here when?
Well, I think we'll still see clouds. Okay. So it'll be cloudy and windy Saturday night.
Okay, because I got a birthday party for a 90-year-old, so I got to make sure people get in and out without being washed away.
You going to the Lubies at, 5:30? What's going on here?
No, we're going to my living room because we're not risking anything.
Listen, y'all already headed to Olive Garden.
Yeah, we already had our Olive Garden day. Anyway, right now we've got so much. We've got a full show today. We're going to be talking about that new bill that was proposed in the state of Texas about what's going on with food subsidies for maybe junk food. Should they? Shouldn't they? We'll talk that. We have the state senator who actually wrote the bill coming up. We're also going to be visiting, continuing our conversation on what's going on with biking, with the parks. Right. Before we get to all of what we've got on the show for today, Celeste has our topics.
Yes. So coming out of Austin yesterday, 2 major education bills were moved forward to the full Texas House by the House Public Education Committee. House Bill 2, or HB 2, is funding for Texas public schools, was passed by the committee in a bipartisan 13-2 vote. HB 2 provides increased funding for Texas public schools for both students and teacher pay. The latest version of the bill increases per student funding from $220 to $395 with built-in increases for every 2 years based on growth of property values. Teachers with 5 or more years of service will also receive pay increases. So now here is where it gets tricky.
I'm already confused.
Stay with me, okay? So as a separate bill, SB 2 was also approved by the committee and moved to the House. Right. Senate Bill 2, or SB 2, is the school choice bill, establishing a $1 billion education savings account program for parents to send their children to private schools with public funds.
It's the voucher program.
It's the voucher, but it is called the school choice bill. And the House committee voted on on party lines for this bill 9-6. Recent changes to the bill require 80% of funds to go to low and median income families. And that is, I believe it's like $10,000 will go to each family. All Democrats on the committee voted against SB 2. Call us and let us know what you think of these 2 bills, SB 2 and HB 2, as they move to the House for consideration. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I would be interested to hear from a teacher that supports vouchers, because I've talked to teachers and I have not found a single teacher that supports the voucher program.
I do want to also clarify that what will probably end up happening is these 2 bills will eventually merge into one bill.
Oh, absolutely.
So hopefully it'll clear some things up.
There's there's a big question about this $1 billion cap right now. What happens in 5 years? Do we have $5 billion for this cap? Because we might need it, and as this continues to escalate, do we have the money, and are we prepared to escalate with it financially? The other problem I heard, and it hasn't really been discussed, is that if you give some of the brightest students in a public school a choice to go to the private school, and you're paying for it, well, then what happens to this school? The brightest students leave, and the school itself gets lower marks because the students aren't doing as well, and the teachers get lower marks because the brightest students have left. So it's one of those, oh, wait a minute, there's this issue too that I haven't really heard much about.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that there's a lot of obvious controversy around SB 2, which is the school choice voucher. But if we take a second to look at HB 2, right off the bat, it looks great that teachers and students are getting more money, right? However, as all of us Houstonians know, it's one of those things where, are they going to effectively use the funds at really making sure that the quality of students' classroom experience and the quality of teachers' experiences are going up with this money? And Houstonians know all about this because we had an HISD bond that was rejected last November, and a lot of it was parents' concern around that's a lot of money, and who's going to hold people accountable to make sure that this is impacting our students the right way?
I'm also interested in the salaries. So on first read, great, an increase for salary for teachers. But it's if you've been there 10 years. So then it starts to be like, how are we evaluating who gets the raises in the classroom? Does that mean a really rock star teacher who's done really well in her second, third, fourth year, is she getting compensated? Or is it a teacher who's been there for 9 years and at the 10-year mark gets that compensation? I'm in favor of longevity pay since I've been there for 30 years.
Absolutely. And I think that is another thing. Well, and I do want to say that when we look at the numbers, it's still not enough. It's still, per student, it is still not where we were funding students and teachers 6 years ago, right? It's slowly getting back to where we need to be. However, I do think that within an industry right now where its retention is a problem, I hope that this could remedy that, and that this will bring something positive.
And I hope when it goes to committee, it looks like the House bill takes better care of special needs children as opposed to the Senate bill. So hopefully that will be hammered out in committee so that we take care of all of our students.
I'm sure we'll continue covering this, and because I got so much more to say on it.
There's a lot.
And
hopefully
call us. I want to know people's opinion on this voucher. If we can find a teacher that agrees with the voucher system, I'd love to hear their opinion.
Absolutely. And next week we will have Superintendent Mike Miles joining Frank, Ernie, and myself. But right now, what do you think? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Okay, back a little closer. Well, not closer to home, because that was a homegrown story right there, too. Senate lawmakers band together in Austin on Thursday in an attempt to convince Governor Greg Abbott to call a special election for Congressional District 18's open seat. That was the seat held by Sylvester Turner. So, what do we think about this? Is there a reason they are holding off on this special Olympic?
Absolutely.
A group of 5, which includes Senator Molly Cook, are concerned that residents will be affected by the lack of inclusive representation. Also, House Senate Representative Jolanda Jones also spoke at a rally where she accused Governor Abbott of intentionally delaying the special election. We've talked about this a little bit. Give us a call. The number here, 713-440-8870. What do you think about this delay?
I think it's glaring. Don't you think it's glaring?
Yes.
What's
The
going
one
on
point
here?
that people keep bringing up, I just want to place that out there before we begin our conversation, is the idea, well, it's probably going to go to a Democrat anyway, so why does it matter if we have the election now or later? Because there is nobody sitting in that seat right now and can vote in the U.S. House of
And if there's nobody
Representatives.
sitting in that seat, then the people that person would represent are not being represented.
Exactly.
And bigger than that, the balance of power in the House is still, it's so tight right now. Every
That's going to
seat
be
matters.
is what it
So,
is. But I think it's very calculating and unfair not to allow an election to fill the seat where it was already filled. I mean, this seat was filled until Sylvester Turner passed. And now it needs to be refilled, and the election needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because the games that are being played on the national level, when these seats become available, because it's such a close margin. So what is the influence that is coming from the federal government to our state administrative leader, our governor, saying, slow the roll here? Or is this just something he's,
we don't
I'm
know
curious
that,
what's
but
the
I mean, I would
smoky
not argue
backroom.
with that suggestion. I don't think we have any support for it. But,
Right.
But it would
I
make
don't know
sense.
it's true, but I believe.
It would make sense. I know.
What do you think about this? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
All right, we finally got a school voucher call. Diana, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, what do you think, Diana? And tell me, are you a teacher or not?
No.
Are you a parent?
I'm a taxpayer,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a product, and my children are a product of public schools.
Okay.
I have grandchildren that started out in private school, and because both of their parents were products of public school, they didn't like the environment, and they took them out, and they're in public school as well. I think it starts at home, one, as far as, how your children are educated and what have you. But the problem I see is we're dismantling so much of the government, of federal money that might be coming potentially to the schools. And now we're going to take away more money from existing funds that come from Texas. So I think our obligation as a state is going to increase. And now we're taking that money away.
It's concerning, I would say, to a lot of parents. I'm curious, Diana, one issue that keeps popping around is that the cost of private schools is more than what these vouchers are allowing. So in some ways, it is benefiting higher income folks because then it's a subsidy to them to send their children to these private schools where maybe lower income families, even with that $10,000 or whatever the exact amount is, doesn't cover it, so those kids don't have the choice. Do you see that to be real?
Oh, yes, most definitely. And if we also look at what the government is dismantling, they're dismantling everything toward the lower income families. Well, and, a middle class, what is that now? And if they wish to, personally, it's just like college education. If you want to go to a school that, either you get scholarships or whatever, you're able to pay for that. And if you're not, then you work toward it, or you compromise or whatever. It's the same thing. If the parent wants a public education, fine. If the parent wants private education, that's on their game, not ours.
Diana, thank you very much for sharing with us. Remember, you can always call us 713-440-8870.
Doris from the Heights is on the line. Doris, what's on your mind?
Well, District 18. I live in District 18 and have lived there since 1990. And I called the governor's office before the last deadline 5 times, and I called the local Harris County GOP and could get no information on whether they were even thinking about calling the election for May 3rd. I did try to point out to them that there are 788,000 residents of District 18, and that's larger than the states of Wyoming or Vermont or Alaska. And if you can kind of do a little apples to oranges, 30% of the vote went for the Republican candidate in the November 2024 election. Okay? So that translates to maybe about 236,000 people in District 18 who might be Republican. So here they are. They're suppressing not only Democrats, and I know it's probably a pretty sure Democrat place, but you can call any of your representatives about any issue. It doesn't matter what party they are.
Doris,
So
quickly
really
before we let you go, I'm just curious, when you see things happening on the federal level, when you see what's happening in the House, when you see these reports, as a person in an area, in a region, in a district that has no representation right now, how does it make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel like I have no voice, but being who I am, I have no hesitation about calling other people. So hello to other Democrats and Republicans in my general area.
Good for you, Doris.
Doris, keep up the good fight, and thank you very much. Remember, we're interested in all of the opinions out there in our community. Like we heard from Doris and Diana, maybe you'll be next. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Okay, from Doris to Beryl, you heard that Hurricane Beryl, the name Beryl, is going to be retired, along with Helene, which devastated North Carolina, and Milton, which hit Sarasota, Florida. So BHM, which is the airport code for Birmingham, which is where I'm from. Isn't that an odd turnaround?
Wait, I need a dry erase board to map this all out.
Beryl was a tough one, but the World Meteorological Organization always gets together and decides which, by devastation, fatalities, memorable, decides which names will be retired. Trivia question, do you know which letter of storms is the most retired? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, P?
D.
H.
No. You're close. I. Yeah.
Really?
What do you think?
Ivan, Isaac,
Ike. Yeah. And just the H and I and the G storms are usually the middle of the season, which are generally the toughest storms. So that's why that happens. But
so how common is this to retire a name?
You know, usually 1 to 3 a year, but especially now.
Right.
Simply because we are seeing with climate change so much devastation from these storms. They are ramping up to Category 5s in the Gulf and sustaining at least to a 3 when they hit, which is just crazy. I mean, we had 5 storms, Category 5 storms in 2005, which included Katrina and Rita. But, you know, and since then, we haven't really let go. It's like we get a Category 3 to 5 storm almost every year that's hitting the United States. So it's becoming more and more common.
One quick situational question. Why do we do it this way? Why do they name them alphabetically like this?
Well, they used to just name them by the memory, like the Great Storm of 1900 or the Storm of 1935. And that wasn't enough if you wanted to have different storms remembered for 1935, right? And so then the Air Force pilots were naming them after Alpha, Beta, Charlie. Okay, but then then it would be Alpha of 1947, Alpha of 1948. Now, so that didn't work. So then they started using their girlfriends' names, and so and that's where the female names.
That always sounds. That's a good idea. Let's just use our girlfriends' names.
Let's turn hurricanes into a romance.
That's right.
And then the male names came along in 1979, and so it goes male and female. And it's supposed to represent the different countries affected by Atlantic storms. So you have Latin names, English names, literally English, what's supposedly American names, whatever that means these days, and then French names like Martinique and
well, if you have questions for Frank about hurricanes, we'll take those later on.
We could go a third hour.
Right.
We're going to go from 1 to 2 and talk about hurricanes.
8870.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll talk with State Senator Mays Middleton, the author of SB 379, which is trying to prohibit those on food assistance programs from buying unhealthy foods. We'll also welcome the president and CEO of the Houston Parks Board, Beth White, to the show to discuss the intersection of bike lanes and park trails. Also, you can join the conversation. We want to hear your thoughts on today's topics. 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
You rely on Houston Public Media for clarity in a noisy world. Now it's your chance to make sure it's always there when it matters most.
Our spring fundraiser is days away, but don't wait. Give right now to help ensure essential news and powerful stories are ready when you need them.
Take the lead. Protect the journalism you depend on and help start the fundraiser with momentum.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
On the next Living on Earth, concerns about the firing of thousands of federal scientists and the canceling of billions of dollars in research.
There have been questions about the role of science in the federal government from the very beginning of the nation. What's different about this, I think, is it's a kind of wholesale attack on science and indiscriminate.
I'm Steve Kerwood. The role of science in government, next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
You can hear it tomorrow night at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
It's been 50 years since the founding of Microsoft, the company that jump-started the personal computing revolution.
Oh, I immediately think of Windows and Office. I think of the system that, by the end of the 1990s, was running on nearly every single desktop computer in the world.
I'm Ari Shapiro. We look at the last half-century of the tech giant that changed the world on the next All Things Considered from NPR News.
You can hear it this afternoon at 3 p.m.
Houston Public Media delivers essential journalism and programming that informs and unites our community. We extend our gratitude to our innovator supporters for enabling us to provide free programming for all. Ellen Benninghoven and Michael Schaefer, MD. The Brown Foundation, Incorporated. The Cullen Foundation. The Hamill Foundation. Joan Hessedance and Rick Wall. Ed and Jean Matthews Foundation, and John P. McGovern Foundation. Thank you.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to Hello Houston. I'm Ernie Manous here with Frank and Celeste.
Hello.
Working on this Friday here. But you know who else was working on Wednesday? The Texas Senate passed Senate Bill 379, known as the Make Texas Healthy Again bill. SB 379 would prohibit SNAP recipients from using their benefits on junk food, things like chips and candy, soda, and other processed food, snacks, and sugary drinks. The bill is now headed to the House for a vote. The bill was authored by State Senator Mays Middleton from Galveston. He's here now with us to tell us why he filed the bill. Senator, welcome and good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thank y'all for having me on.
And if you have any questions or comments about the Make Texas Healthy Again bill, call us 713-440-8870. Senator Mays, thank you again for joining us today. And right off the bat, what was your reason for authoring and filing Senate Bill 379?
So the purpose of the SNAP program, so that's a Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is food stamps, is nutritional food essential to health and well-being. Well, we know that soda, sweetened beverages, cookies, candies, and chips, that's not essential to health and well-being. And taxpayer-funded junk food, what it turns into at the end of the day is taxpayer-funded health care. So what this does is it removes those junk foods and sweet beverages from the food stamp program in Texas. Of course, we have to seek a waiver from the federal government on that. That's the U.S. Department of Agriculture must grant the waiver. But this is a step forward in the right direction to make sure that we have healthier options and choices in the food stamp program.
So, Senator, this is Frank Billingsley. So how does this work? If someone comes through the grocery line with their pineapple sherbet, it says, no, you can't buy that.
So the federal government determines the rules. They're the ones that regulate the products that are in this. And basically how it works is if this bill passes, then our state Department of Health and Human Services negotiates with the federal USDA to determine exactly which products are eligible and which are not. And at that point, that's when the program has the eligibility requirements that would be coded, right, and a particular retailer is eligible or not.
This is Ernie here, Senator. Thank you for joining us. In theory, I absolutely love this bill, and I try and do this myself. But I know just from my own life experience, there are times when I'm hungry and I grab something fast and it's not the healthiest choice I make. And that's a situation in which I'm in, and I have a choice. There are a lot of folks, especially in our area, that are in food deserts and don't necessarily have access to the healthiest food around. How does this bill affect them, and what should we be looking at in that area?
Right. So on the first example, look, that's your own dollars. So
right.
The SNAP program, the food stamp program, is taxpayer funded. So people can still do whatever they want with their own tax dollars. And I'll also point out this. There's also regulations that currently exist today. If you are a food stamp retailer, you have to stock 36 staple food items, and those are in 4 categories: fruits and vegetables, dairy, meat, poultry, and grains, and they have to have a minimum of 3 varieties of each of those 4 staples, or 50% of their gross sales have to be from those staples. So these are existing regulations that are already there. And I'd also like to point out the WIC program, which is the Women, Infant, and Children program, federally funded and administered program, already prohibits sweetened beverages, sodas, junk foods from being in that program. And that program exists in Texas right now, and there are about 800,000 people in it. So what my bill would do, Senate Bill 379, is match the rest of the food stamp program to the WIC program.
I just want to clarify one point you made there so that I understand. When you're talking about what they have to carry, percentage, all that, does that hold true for convenience stores or just for supermarkets and markets?
Both. So for any food stamp vendor.
Okay.
So
wherever you can use them.
Yes, wherever you can use them.
Senator Middleton, I have a question. How will you bridge the gap between cost? Because it is known that fruits, vegetables, avocados, eggs are expensive right now when people are going to buy their groceries. And a big family bag of chips and junk food is inexpensive. And a lot of times, as Ernie said, people are in food deserts, and so they'll go to a gas station and pick up some staples and go home. How will you make sure that if you are offering and saying in a dignified way, we are going to provide fruits and vegetables and eggs and try to encourage people to go the healthy route, how will that be at the end of the day, the grocery bill? How are you going to bridge that gap?
Well, so this bill doesn't close any vendors. This bill doesn't shut down anyone's access to where they're shopping currently. Right now, all it does is it encourages healthier choices. That was a big point in the debate on the Senate floor.
Senator,
this will change buying behavior because, look, we all know junk food's not good for you. It was pretty shocking, actually, that the American Heart Association testified against this bill. They ended up coming under a lot of pressure because of that, and we know, soda and junk food is not heart healthy. And they later retracted that position. So, the soda lobby hates this bill as well. Because in Texas, it's about $7 billion a year are spent on the food stamp program. So, but at the end of the day, what we believe this will result in is a market shift to healthier food, and it will fit certainly within the requirements that already exist on all all vendors in the food
Senator,
stamp.
quickly to go back to Celeste's question, though, if you've got, for example, $20 to spend at the store and you're feeding 3 people, and your choices are between the healthier products, which tend to be more expensive, which I'll never understand because they're less processed and all of that.
Organic food.
Or the convenience foods that they can stretch, that can go further. What's your advice to folks that are on SNAP when they're faced with that conundrum?
So the good news is these products already exist and where they're shopping. And what this bill will do is it will remove the things that we know are making people sick. Look, I mean, we've seen skyrocketing healthcare costs and declines in life expectancy in Texas and the rest of America. And look, taxpayers should not be funding what is making people sicker and sicker. And taxpayer-funded junk food, we know, turns into taxpayer-funded health care. About $29 billion in Medicaid spending, so healthcare spending in Texas, is SNAP recipients right now. And we just want to make sure that we're fulfilling the intent of the program, right? You always have to go back to that, which the point of the food stamp program is nutritious food essential to health and well-being. Well, junk food doesn't fit that purpose at all.
There you go.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, sir.
State Senator Mays Middleton represents the Galveston area. Senator Middleton, thank you for joining Frank, Ernie, and myself.
Hey, appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for having me on.
Thank you.
All right. Earlier this week, we had City of Houston Mayor John Whitmire on our show. We got into a discussion about a lot of things, one of which was bike lanes, and the phones lit up, especially around Austin Street. And he said, you know what? You should really talk to Beth White, President and CEO of the Houston Parks Board. And with his blessing, we invited Beth to come on and talk about this concern. So for those who may not know, welcome, Beth White. Exactly what is your role? What is your title? What do you do? Tell us.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
I'm so happy to be here on your inaugural week.
Yes.
I've listened every day.
Thank you.
I'm Beth White. I'm the president and CEO of Houston Parks Board. We are the not-for-profit that focuses on expanding, improving, and protecting public parks, trails, and green spaces throughout the Houston region.
So Mayor Whitmire referenced, as Frank was saying, we were talking about bike lanes and increasing non-car transportation within the city. Is there any overlap between the City of Houston bike lanes and park trails?
There's always an intersection, right, of streets, trails, and parks.
Yeah.
And what our focus is on expanding and enhancing and connecting the bio-greenway system. That's the primary work that we do, is the off-street trails.
Well, you have to get to them.
Correct.
And you use the streets to get to them.
That's exactly right.
So how do we incorporate safe, good bike lanes on our streets that get us to the park trails?
So one of the ways that we're doing that, when you look at the bio-greenway system, first just to set the stage, it's 150 plus miles of linear parks and trails along 9 major bios. They intersect with streets throughout the city. So where we can, we work closely with the city, and they're the driver for the on-street trails, but we're the driver for the off-street trails. So we have to work in close coordination, like where those trails need to be so that people can get to the bio-greenways. Because the whole point of the greenways is to connect people.
Sure.
Connect them to their communities, connect them to parks.
One issue, though, that came up, and it's something that the mayor said, and it's continued through the responses from our audience, is his characterizing it as recreational use. And a lot of folks were concerned because it's not. It's the way they commute. It's the way they live in the city and can afford, and they think they're doing good for themselves health-wise and good for our environment at the same time. And some people, it's economical. Do we look at the recreational trails in the parks as commuter paths? And if not, then how are folks supposed to navigate the city if they're doing it on 2 wheels?
We look at the system holistically. So yes, it's commuters, it's recreation bikers, it's pedestrians, it's people who want to move about the city in a different way. So it's an active transportation network, not just linear parks, but it is transportation.
But if you remove the street element of it, how then does that continue to work for the commuter on bike?
Well, what I'm hoping is that we can continue the dialogue for where these street lanes need to be and how can you do it. I mean, it's very challenging. And, it's difficult to think about how we're going to make sure that our streets provide safe access for bicyclists and cars and pedestrians crossing the street.
Right, but then tearing up existing street paths, that's what we saw happen on Austin Street. Is there a plan in place to replace that conduit, that avenue, or is it being taken away after the money was spent to build it and now we don't have budget or a plan for what will replace it? Or don't I just have the full information?
Well, I think that is a question for Mayor Whitmire and his team. Okay. And I think they are looking across the city at where can we provide this kind of resource. I think it's unfortunate that it's not there any longer. But I really do hope that there's a continuing dialogue. I think this was a great place to start that dialogue in a very major way.
Yes.
But I think we have to really figure out how to create this. It's a tough issue for Houston. I think everyone agrees. The urban landscape of the city was shaped by cars because that was, in the 70s, that's when Houston exploded in terms of growth, and that was the dominant form of transportation. Yeah. And one of the council members said the other day, bike lanes are controversial in every city when you start putting them in. It's a major change in the way people get around.
Well, we don't even have sidewalks for most neighborhoods.
I agree with you, and I do know there is a significant emphasis right now on sidewalks, collecting the data where we have them, where we don't have them. That's a particularly important issue for us because while we're known for biogreenways, we're really a parks organization. We started 50 years ago focusing on neighborhood parks. So we're trying to improve and protect and create new parks, but people have to get to them.
Right.
And sidewalks are critical because we can do all the work we want to do in the park, but if people can't get into them safely, whether walking in a wheelchair or on a bike, no one can use the park. So sidewalks are a huge piece of the puzzle for how people can get around, and then you have to look at, can you make the sidewalks wider?
Well, I haven't seen any sidewalks showing up. At least not in my neighborhood.
Well, I know Commissioner Briones just had a big announcement last week for putting in, I think it was like 50 miles of new sidewalks in her precinct that are inside the city. So I think it is happening out there. I think it's happening in pieces. And there are lots of players. It's the county, it's the city, it's the TERSs, it's the management districts. But our organization is doubling down on biogreenways. So think about the way, and I brought you a gift.
Before you give us our gifts, hold one second.
Just want you to see I just use it as an illustration.
I love it.
The bios really go east to west. So we have to now think about how do you connect people north and south?
Hold on to that for 1 second.
Okay.
That's right. We are speaking with Beth White, and she's the president and CEO of the Houston Parks Board. Give us a call with your questions, 713-440-8870. Beth, that is so cool.
No, show it to us when we have a moment. We got to get our phone number in.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
So
please.
What we're trying to do, we make these for our annual luncheon every year. What
you
we
can
try
see
to
it
remind
on our YouTube
people
channel.
of, this is the Bio City. Our park system was designed to embrace the bios as the natural framework. And that got interrupted. It was in the Comey Plan of 1912 during the City Beautiful movement. And 100 years later, we've made that happen on 150 miles. So now how do you expand it out?
Yeah.
How do you connect north to south?
Well,
and so we're working with Centerpoint to take advantage of these big utility easement corridors where we can fit in trails. The mayor mentioned some of these the other day. Spring Branch, an 11-mile segment that will connect White Oak Biogreenway on the east all the way to Addicks Reservoir. Mm-hmm. We already have a portion open. We're designing and building the next one. We're taking a look at a trail in the Sharpstown area that'll connect Sharpstown to Braze, and that one is going to be probably another 4 miles, and that's going to go from Braze Bio at 59 to connect people all the way up to Sharpstown.
And all of this is great. It doesn't address the bike lane issue on the streets.
It does in the sense that as you go along these easement corridors, you have to cross streets. So we need to coordinate together and look at, would a bike lane make sense to bring people to that connection to the north-south corridor or to biogreenways?
Let me ask a question in here.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's
sure.
okay. Just jumping because I know we're running out of time. My question is that one of the elements that seems to be a problem are these armadillos. And the mayor is concerned about disrepair for those and what it costs and the danger and all of that. I'm curious if what you do in the parks and how you keep bikers safe in the park as opposed to walkers, runners, other things, if there's lessons we can learn in that approach that can be applied to our streets, and are you talking in those ways with the city administration?
So in the parks and along bio-greenways, it's a shared use path. So we have enough room that we can build wide enough paths that they can be shared. However, we do put in safety features when we're going underneath a bridge or we're coming back up to the street where people have to cross to get back down to the
Are those things that
bios.
could be incorporated into city planning?
Yes, absolutely, and they are. And we've created a set of urban design guidelines for the bio-greenways that the city uses. So I think it all depends on the situation and the context. Armadillos may work in one place. Jersey barriers may work in another place.
Well, I want to tell you, I read the 93 PDF of your green spaces, and there are great ideas in there. And I hope that you can really incorporate them and do something about this situation. I hope you'll keep us updated.
Absolutely.
Come back whenever.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And we were part of the bike plan. We helped fund it. But our focus, and because we have such a broad mandate, we do neighborhood parks, we do the bio-greenways, we do the connectors. We're also working on 3 regional parks. You'll see McGregor Park featured on here as the regional. But I'd love to come back and talk about parks. I mean, trails are just an element, but
we have 2 hours every day.
Awesome. I'll be back.
Especially if you bring us gifts.
And congratulations. It's a great show.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Beth White is the president and CEO of the Houston Parks Board. Beth, truly, thank you for joining us today. And coming up next on Hello Houston, we talk about the new Nintendo Switch and the new Minecraft movie with Nerdtropolis Sean Tajipour. Stay with us.
We are asking virtually every large company on Earth to take a look at where they're buying and selling their stuff, a dramatic change to the terms of trade. And we know that the last time we had a big shock, it was extremely disruptive.
I'm Michael Barbaro. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
You can hear that tonight at 7 o'clock on News 88.7.
I do have a question.
On the next Radio Lab,
what keeps you up at night?
We're going to ask,
what burning questions do you have?
Some stupid questions.
So here's my question. My question is,
how would you feel if I called you a Neanderthal?
I
think my best guess.
Such a complicated question.
And we get some not so stupid answers.
You just got to know who to ask.
It's puzzling.
Oh.
That's deeply strange.
That's on the next Radio Lab.
No, we've already done that.
It's on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
The TV series The Office is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. On the next Fresh Air, interviews with the creator and writer Greg Daniels and cast members Steve Carell, Mindy Kaling, Jenna Fisher, John Krasinski, and Rainn Wilson. And co-creator and star of the original British version, Ricky Gervais. Join us.
You can hear it tonight at 8 p.m.
I'm Sam Sanders, inviting you to join me starting this weekend for The Sam Sanders Show here on News 88.7. This show is all about what makes pop culture tick. TV and movies, music and celebrities, culture and memes, and the people who make it all. The Sam Sanders Show, your weekly guide to entertainment. Sundays at 6 p.m. here on News 88.7 and on the Houston Public Media app.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And welcome back to Hello Houston. A lot of great conversation is going on here on this Friday with myself and Frank and
Hello.
Celeste.
How are you?
Going on.
It's Friday.
We were talking earlier in the show about that special election that we're waiting to see when that's going to happen in District 18. It's to fill the seat that was vacated by the passing of Sylvester Turner, and it leaves District 18 unrepresented right now. Well, we asked you to call in and share your opinions and thoughts with us at 713-440-8870. Ryan from Bel Air is on the line. Ryan, what's on your mind?
Hey, I was just when I was listening to you, the senator talking about the bill to propose to limit the purchase of sugary and junk food items with SNAP benefits, I just think that, historically speaking, those are sort of thinly veiled racist bills, almost like what people refer to as a dog whistle. Clearly the senator, I guess I'm thinking, who has the right to determine what is junk food? I mean, a box of cracked mac and cheese has about the same nutritional value as a bag of chips. And I'm just thinking, the people who are on SNAP benefits, they don't deserve for someone to be lording over them, telling them how to make these purchases. They have enough problems on their hands.
Yeah, you have a point. You have a point. We were talking earlier about orange juice, which is full of sugar, and orange juice is healthy for you. So, who makes the list is
healthy for you in limited quantity.
Sure. Right. So, the question is who makes the list, right? And he was saying the feds make the list.
There should be a list at all.
Right.
You guys were talking about how the high cost of what are typically referred to as like good foods, like organic things and vegetables. It's there's like a barrier here, which I feel like I think we would be better off addressing that than telling people like, oh, you cannot buy your kids chips and cookies, things like that. These people are having a really hard time, and I think we're just making it even worse on them. Not to mention, the senator. Has that man ever had a day in his life where he didn't get exactly what he wanted? I feel
Ryan,
like
first, let me jump in here. Two things I wanted to say. First of all, I want to apologize for introducing your comment as being on a different story than you were actually calling in on. We are talking about the food bill and the SNAP's benefit bill and as it's called, the Making Texas Healthy Again bill, not the special election, first of all. Second of all, though, Ryan, I do think it's an interesting thing that they're proposing at this point in time, especially when we see a lot of the foods that we classify as healthy, the prices on those keep going up higher and higher. And so I hear what you're saying. Sometimes people don't have the option to go for what's the healthier choice if they're trying to fill the tummies of themselves or their children.
Exactly. I've been to Galveston and I went to a farmer's market out there, and, that's the sort of thing, the community outreach where we can help those less fortunate get those sort of foods. Putting more money into programs like that, I feel like would benefit the people on SNAP benefits rather than, disallowing them from purchasing soda or cookies or chips or whatever we've deemed not responsible purchasing. I don't know. I feel like it's a...
No, Ryan, I think we hear you, and it's a great point. It's interesting. I think we can all agree we should all be eating healthier, better foods for us, but it's how you implement that plan and how it affects those that depend on certain support that is out there for them. So I don't think it's an easy answer, but I do appreciate you, Ryan, for sharing your thoughts on it.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. Remember, you can always call in with your thoughts on any of today's topics. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
And to Ryan's point, I did try to ask the senator, essentially, how do you bridge that cost gap?
Yeah, I think we both tried it at different ways.
And it's one of those things where, in theory, of course, we want people to have access to healthy food. But restriction is not necessarily the right, or, giving them a slap on their hand is not the right way to do that.
Should taxpayer dollars be funding for some people to go and get foods that don't benefit their long-term health? I think that's the position the Senator's
right. And
from.
Again, that's complex and complicated because, we want to make sure that people feel dignified at all levels. But a lot is happening around the world of, wait for it, video games.
Ooh, big segue there. Huh?
Yeah, Pong is back.
Nintendo revealed more information about their highly anticipated and long-awaited Nintendo Switch 2, which is set to be released on June 5th. Also, a film based on the widely popular video game Minecraft titled A Minecraft Movie is officially out in theaters starting today. I will definitely be going to see it. Also, coming out later this month, a film adaptation of the horror game Until Dawn. On the small screen, the critically acclaimed series The Last of Us, based on the equally acclaimed video game of the same name, has a new season coming soon.
A lot going on in this
A lot
world.
going on. To tell us more, we're joined now by Sean Tajipour, and he's the owner and host of Nerdtropolis, a space for pop culture fans to access entertainment news. He's also known as the mayor of Nerdtropolis. Mayor Sean, thanks for being here.
Hey, you big nerd.
Greetings and hello from Nerdtropolis, and happy Friday.
Thank you,
Friday.
Mr. Mayor. Okay, I've got to know. Nintendo Switch. What's different in Nintendo Switch 2?
Oh, man, it seems like everything is going to be bigger and better for the Nintendo Switch 2, honestly. It's going to be bigger with the 7.9 screen, and now can do 4K, which is awesome. I've been waiting for this for a while, and, you know, what's really cool about the Nintendo Switch 2 is they're adding a new game chat function where you can have other friends in other houses that have one chat with you as you're playing your game, and you can actually see each other on your TV as well with the new camera. And on top of that, too, there's a game share function that you can temporarily share the games with your friends even if they don't own them.
So, Sean, explain this to me. My kids are not old enough to be into like computer games, but that sounds a very similar strategy or format that a lot of computer games have. Is that right?
Right. They're trying to build a community with online friends, families to other households. And so it's a great way if you have, you know, other people in your family that live far away that love playing their Nintendo Switch, because it is the system that bridges generations, to be honest.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a quick question about this. It seems to me, not being in this world, an interesting time to be releasing a new piece of technology that's going to be really exciting for a lot of folks. Why didn't it come out, do you think, last Christmas or be held until the holiday season this year? Why now? Am I missing something in the world of
tariffs?
Of these games?
Well, a lot of things have changed in this industry about release dates, and it always comes down to when is it really done and ready to go, and what type of titles will do it. Pre-orders were supposed to go next week, I believe, but now they're changing it because of the tariffs. They're going to change the pre-release orders, but it's still planning on coming out June 5th. And real quick, if you're not well-versed in gaming, the new gaming, like yourself, like you mentioned, the best thing about the Nintendo Switch is there are these apps for Nintendo Classic where you can download the original Nintendo game, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Genesis, and they just announced GameCube games that you can play. So you can revisit the past of what you used to play back in the day.
All right, so I know, right, Pong? That was me, 1977. So, so let me ask you, Mayor. You got a few new titles coming out, like with a Minecraft movie, Until Dawn. What's your take? I don't want you to give away anything you shouldn't, but are these just amazing?
Yeah, so the Minecraft movie that's coming out this weekend is already breaking records. It's the biggest preview for a video game movie ever, with $10.5 million. The film is on track to be the highest grossing opening of 2025. I love this film, directed by Jared Hess, who did Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre. So if you love those films, you're going to love this one. It has Jack Black, Jason Momoa, so it's definitely a 1-2 punch there. Kids and adults are going to love this. Obviously, kids are going to love it much more, but if you don't know anything about Minecraft, you're going to be taught a little bit about Minecraft in this film. It sets it up pretty great to kind of make you want to go home and play the game.
That is so exciting, because as a parent who watches a lot of kids' movies, I always find that when Jack Black is cast in these movies, the writing is excellent. Like Kung Fu Panda is one of our favorite. We can't watch it anymore because Philip started actually thinking he was Kung Fu Panda. And so, but you know, I am actually really excited as an adult parent of little children. I think that we're going to be Dan, we're going to go see that this weekend.
One more quick one. Last of Us Season 2. What's your take on that?
Oh, man, Last of Us is such a great show coming to Max very soon on April 13th. It's a show that even gamers love, but also non-gamers enjoy and really enjoy because of Pedro Pascal. and Bella Ramsey. It's going to be a deeper dive into the emotional core of this awesome PlayStation franchise. Not many people know about this. Was a video game that really created great television.
I need a one-word answer on this one because we're running out of time. Have you seen the new Superman tease, and what do you think?
I have seen it. The clip is amazing. It comes out July 11th on my birthday, so you know I'm going to have a Superman-themed birthday. And
I want to see you in your little red cape, Mr. Mayor. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sean Tajipour is the owner and host of Nerdtropolis. Sean, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thanks, Mayor.
Coming up on Hello Houston, second hour, we'll talk with chef and next-generation restaurateur Aaron Bludorn, and we'll take more of your comments on the top stories of the day. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Did you know Houston Public Media accepts vehicle donations? If you've got a car or truck that you don't need anymore, donate it to our station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars or more in support. Go online to houstonpublicmedia.org/cars for more info. Support comes from Houston Grand Opera, presenting Wagner's Tannhäuser in a production featuring tenor Russell Thomas on stage at Wortham Theater, April 25th through May 11th. Tickets are available at hgo.org.
It's 11:59. I'm Tom Carter. Good morning. We're looking for a windy day again today, mostly cloudy, breezy, and we're supposed to get up to about 87. It's 82. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Coming up this hour on Hello Houston, there's a measles case in Houston. We'll discuss what local officials are saying about it. And Centerpoint says it has an idea that could save you money. We'll talk about it next. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. Also this hour, our conversation with Gary Tinterow with the Museum of Fine Arts Houston and the owner of Bludorn in Montrose stops by to talk about what's happening at his restaurants.
I'm Frank Billingsley. We know you have questions. You can be a part of the conversation today at 713-440-8870. And be sure to check us out live on YouTube. We have cameras all over the place.
We certainly do. We hope you're enjoying the first week of our new show, Hello Houston. Lots of good conversation just ahead.
First, the news from NPR and News 88.7. Hello Houston on a Friday continues.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is addressing the projected impact of President Trump's tariffs on the U.S. economy.
It is now becoming clear that tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected. And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
Powell speaking today at the annual conference for the Society for Advancing Business Editing and Writing outside Washington, D.C. Powell's focus on inflation suggests the Fed will likely keep its benchmark interest rate unchanged. On Truth Social, President Trump urged the Fed to cut rates. U.S. stocks are spending a second day in the red. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 1,600 points, rather 1,672 points, or more than 4%. The S&P is down 262 points, and NASDAQ is down 818 points. Trump's reciprocal tariffs on 60 countries and territories include ones large and small. NPR's Jackie Northam reports some are impoverished or uninhabited.
Many of the countries on Trump's tariff target list can hardly be described as economic powerhouses working against U.S. interests. Guyana, Mauritius, Madagascar, and many others now face more than 30% tariffs. Lesotho, one of the world's poorest countries, is subject to 50% tariffs. Then there's Heard Island and McDonald Islands, a group of islands in the Antarctic whose only inhabitants are penguins and seals, facing 10% tariffs. It's a similar situation in the Norwegian territories of Svalbard and Jan Mayen, and the French territory of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon. Population of about 5,000, it exports fish to the U.S. and is now facing 50% tariffs. Jackie Northam, NPR News.
A group of labor unions representing federal employees is again suing the Trump administration, this time over an executive order ending collective bargaining rights for more than 1 million employees. Here's NPR's Andrea Hsu.
The labor unions collectively represent more than 950,000 workers in the federal government. They argue that President Trump's executive order is retaliation for lawsuits they filed seeking to block Trump's firing of federal employees and other actions. The White House says Trump has the authority to deny bargaining rights to employees at agencies whose missions involve national security. The unions point out that union employees in the government have served with distinction through multiple wars and a global health emergency, and that even President Trump has never before called unions a national security concern. Now the unions are asking a federal judge to declare the executive order unlawful and block agencies from implementing it. Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
The Dow is down more than 1,500 points, or nearly 4%. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Matt Thomas. The Harris County Health Department confirmed a new case of measles in the area, a child without a travel history. News 88.7's Colleen de Guzman has the update.
It's the fourth measles case reported in the Houston area this year, and it's the first that's not associated with international travel. The child has already recovered from the disease and did not need to be hospitalized. According to the Houston Chronicle, they also had 1 dose of the measles shot. The Harris County Health Department has not linked it to the West Texas outbreak yet, which climbed to 481 cases on Friday. 97% of them are unvaccinated or don't have documentation of getting the measles shot. And among those patients, 56 have been hospitalized. I'm Colleen de Guzman, News 88.7.
The woman who blew the whistle on an alleged sex trafficking ring at Klein High School is suing the district now. News 88.7's Tom Perumian has that.
Special education teacher Desma Darden says she was forced to resign from Klein Independent School District or be fired after she uncovered one of her students was being pressured into sex trafficking. Darden claims her removal was retaliation for reporting the allegation to both Klein ISD and Harris County Sheriffs in February 2023. Cosmetology teacher Kedria Grisby was taken into custody more than a month later. Darden has filed a lawsuit against Klein ISD, its executive director, Deidre Davis, and Klein High School principal, Nicole Patton. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Big challenge for the Rockets tonight as they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder at Toyota Center downtown. Houston is 50-27 on the season, currently in second behind the Thunder in the Western Conference, so a win tonight would be a big deal. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. Today, we have a slight chance of some showers this afternoon with highs in the upper 80s. Tomorrow, late morning into the early afternoon, we could have some severe weather. I'm Matt Thomas, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Thinkorswim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Oh, I'm looking at my co-hosts waving at their little cameras there. What little cameras, you ask? Well, we are on YouTube. So as you listen on the radio, you can also go over to our website, houstonpublicmedia.org, and click the link.
Never met a camera I didn't like.
That is so true. Or you can also find us on the World Wide Web at youtube.com/HoustonPublicMedia. And I have to say, what I'm most thrilled about right now in this moment is we've been on, this is the end of our first week on the air, and our audience, you listening, you watching, are engaging with us, and you're chatting with us. That's what we're here for you to share your thoughts and concerns and issues and even criticisms. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
And suggestions. If there are subjects out there you'd like us to talk about, let us know.
Email those to us.
Email us. Yeah, don't call us about that. But email us. We're already getting people emailing saying they'd like to be on the program. So we must be doing something right, Celeste.
We are absolutely doing something right.
That is talk@hellohouston.org. Talk@hellohouston.org. Okay, now what you're going to say. I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to make sure they had that email if we're going to mention it.
No, it really does help Ernie, Frank, and myself whenever we see and hear what y'all are thinking. I mean, it is so important because it also keeps us in check and it keeps us on track. So keep those comments coming.
This hour, we're going to be talking with Museum of Fine Arts Director Gary Tinterow, and also Aaron Bludorn will be joining us. But outside of the joys of the day, there's a lot going on in the news. Celeste, what's the big story we're looking at?
Well, not necessarily joy, but here's the news. Harris County public health officials say a child in Northwest Harris County who has no recent travel history has tested positive for measles. The county's health department says that investigators are still trying to determine how the child was exposed to the virus. The child was under 18 years old and has recovered. They did not need to be hospitalized. Officials say the individual had been given one of the 2 doses of the vaccine. Harris County Public Health is conducting a contact tracing to determine who else could have been exposed. Officials did not express any concern that the case would lead to much community spread. Here is the key. Since 94% of Harris County residents are protected with at least a dose of the vaccine.
And
I did not know that. 94%?
Yeah.
Usually at this point, we would get into our conversation about it and share our thoughts and opinions. Of course, we always want yours at 713-440-8870. But to dig a little deeper in this particular story, we have joining us again Dr. Catherine Troisi, infectious disease epidemiologist at UT Health Houston. Dr. Troisi, welcome back to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so we're talking about this, and there seems to be this sense of, it's okay, it's just one case from an epidemiological point of view. How are you viewing what's going on?
And it's the second one. First was Fort Bend County.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is true that, if you have a high enough percentage of people protected, we usually say 95% for measles, then you don't necessarily expect to see community spread. However, there can be pockets of people who are susceptible. Schools, for example, where many of the parents choose not to vaccinate their children. And so there are still people at risk. There are people who can't be vaccinated because they're pregnant, because they're too young, under age 6 months, because they have leukemia, other immunosuppression. And so there are still people at risk. And just because it's one case right now doesn't mean, we need to keep an eye on this, obviously. And if you are not protected and can be, now's a good time to get the vaccine.
It was interesting that this individual had been given one of the 2 doses of the vaccine and even still got the measles, but didn't have to be hospitalized and recovered. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to exactly know without all the details, but this is why we recommend 2 doses, because while most people do respond to 1 dose and have lifelong immunity, there are certain, usually we say 93%, but that leaves 7% who don't, and that's why that second dose is recommended to get them up to, or get the percentage of people responding up to 97%. The other thing you don't know is when they received the vaccine. If it was a couple of days ago, then it may not have protected them.
True.
So, Dr. Troisi, so parents who might be considering getting their children that are currently unvaccinated. If there's a parent that is like, well, maybe I should. Is it okay to have your child vaccinated at any moment, or what is the timeline? Because I know whenever you're following the vaccine timelines, you get them at 6 months, 2 years old, 4 years old. What if you have a child who's not vaccinated and the parent is trying to think or starting to think, maybe I should?
Yeah, so usually the first dose is recommended between 12 and 15 months. So if your child is older than that and has not been vaccinated, and again, you should check with your healthcare provider or your pediatrician if there are some underlying conditions. But, age-wise, that would be fine. If they are younger, kids can receive the vaccine at 6 months or older in an outbreak situation. One case is not an outbreak situation, but should we get there, then again, talk to your healthcare provider about whether a much younger child, 6 months to 12 months, should receive the vaccine.
Yesterday, some numbers came out that were telling us about exposure, about areas. What did you glean from the public health reports?
I'm not sure which reports you're referring to.
Didn't the state health report release number of infections, number of hospitalizations?
Today it was released.
Okay.
Yeah.
These have been very long days this week.
Sorry. I understand. Yeah, so we've seen a big increase. In 1 week, we've seen 81 more cases. We've seen a number, I think, since Monday or Tuesday. The reports come out on Tuesday and Friday. We've seen 14 more hospitalizations. About 1 out of every 8 cases has had to be hospitalized. We are not close to the end of this outbreak. We've also seen, which is of concern, spread to central Texas. There are a couple counties west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then northeast of the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have seen some cases. So it's not just in western Texas right now.
Two quick questions for you. Two quick questions before I let you go. Yeah. First of all, if you can't remember if you've been vaccinated, I think we approached this or talked about this on Monday. Is it safe to go and get a vaccine right now just to be safe if you're an adult?
Yeah, I mean, if you have concerns, of course, talk to your healthcare provider. Right. But for a healthy adult or child over, a year or two, there is no contraindication to getting another vaccine.
And
another dose.
The last question: schools, what can they be doing to better ensure their students are safe?
Yeah, well, they need to, the school nurses, if they still have them, are supposed to be looking at immunization records, alerting parents that, cases have been seen in the area, that if their child isn't vaccinated, to talk to somebody to get information about, whether the parents want to change their mind and get the child vaccinated. So just keeping information out there.
Dr. Tracy, always thankful to have you join us with your information, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this a bit more in the future.
Speaking of schools,
Dr. Catherine Tracy, infectious disease epidemiologist at UT Health Houston.
That's right. Earlier we were talking about in our hot headlines, our topics, SB2 and HB2, and you can join this conversation at 713-440-8870. And these were the school voucher or school choice bills. And we have Susan from Fort Bend on the line.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon.
So what are your thoughts on school vouchers?
Yes, first of all, I want to say hello to Eddie Muniz. I don't know if you remember it. I was, when you had your show, I called in on Mother's Day. But love your shows.
Well, nice. Thank you very much,
I co-hosted
Susan.
the last Mother's Day.
And if we had 10 minutes, we could do all of this.
Hi. Yes, it's great to hear from you.
So, Susan, what are your feelings today? What are your feelings on school vouchers?
Yes, and I want to say that I do agree with your point of view regarding taking money away from the public schools, to give to private schools. I disagree with that. If me as a rich person want to send my child to a private school, I shouldn't have to take money from the public school to subsidize that. And also, like you rightly said, if someone of a low income wants to send their child to a private school, $10,000 doesn't suffice. but for each person, it does, it really will help them. Rather than do that, the $1 billion they are taking aside to subsidize this, giving $10,000 to each person, rather pump that back into the public schools. Guess what will happen? You get better teachers, you pay them better, and also you get less student ratio per teacher, and that will improve the student, education level. So, and also it will help to rebuild, the schools that are under par. So much can be done. Rather than taking money away from these public schools, we need to infuse more money in them and make them much better. And if I want to take my child to a private school, by all means, I should have that right. But my money should not be used to subsidize that.
Susan, thank you very much for your thoughts and comments and your kind words. You can call in and share your point of view with us at 713-440-8870.
Donna from Spring is on the line. Hi, Donna. What are your thoughts?
Hi. I think vouchers and I'm a retired teacher from suburban districts as well as urban districts. So I've seen both sides. I think vouchers are very unfair to anybody but the wealthy. Unless you can, as the previous caller said, the $10,000 is not enough, and most middle class people can't even pay the $10,000. But unless they can pay anywhere between an extra $10,000 and $35,000, then they can't afford these private schools. And also transportation is a problem. Unless the parents, one of them has the kind of job where they can come in late because they're taking the kids to the various private schools, then that's an obstacle for anybody who wants to go to vouchers.
Donna.
Or if they have
Donna, from having the experience you've had, I'm sure you would agree that there are issues with our public school system and education in this country in general. If we put you in charge and gave you the purse strings, how would you fix it?
I would, first of all, get some people skilled. They're doing a little bit of that now. Somebody skilled to work with mental and emotional health for the children. Secondly, I would pay the teachers a workable wage, not where they have to work another job and they're tired, and not where they're forced to, and teachers are indeed forced, not every school district, forced to pass students, and or there's an unofficial punishment for teachers who say, no, you didn't do the work, and so I can't pass you.
What do you think of the promotion or the salary increase for those that work 10 years?
I think it should be based on longevity as well as the kind of students they have. If you're going to pay me, and I waited until I had taught 10 years before I chose to go to an urban district. If I'm teaching in an urban district, pay me more because the work is more difficult. Pay me more. But don't compare me when I was at a suburban district to what I do in an urban district. I did the same in both districts, but I think also it helped that I was a person of color and I was not intimidated by the urban children.
Donna, interesting point of view there. I thank you for calling in and sharing that with us. Call us back. This topic is going to continue to be something we discuss right here on Hello Houston. Thank you, Donna, for calling.
Hey, you may have heard that Houstonians are going to take part in a nationwide protest this Saturday, which is tomorrow, asking President Trump and Elon Musk to stop cuts that affect programs serving middle and working class families in the United States. This is called Hands Off, and I'm pretty sure it refers to the VA, Social Security, and Medicare. So it's basically saying get your hands off of VA benefits, get your hands off of Social Security, and get your hands off of Medicaid and Medicare. So the event is expecting 250,000 to show up at 1,000 protests across the U.S., two of which we know about. One in Houston at City Hall, that's downtown from 12 to 3 tomorrow. The other is Montgomery County. That their hands-off protest is at the County Commissioner's Court building on North Thompson from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you just Google hands-off protest, you'll get more information about it. What's your take? 713-440-8870. Ernie, what's your take on this?
Well, for me, rallies are an interesting thing. They seem to benefit those who go to the rally, but I don't know if people are listening beyond that. I don't know if, no matter how many people in today's administration, no matter how many people show up, is today's administration that's watching all this, are they moved by that?
But the Tea Party started like this. Very small groups, taxed enough already. That was what the Tea Party stood for, about 2011. And that was eventually absorbed, I think, mostly into the Republican Party and groups. So you don't hear much about it anymore. But these sort of small groups have to start somewhere.
Well, I'm all for it. And I think that protest is given to us in the Constitution. We should be able to speak out for things that we agree with and things we don't agree with. And so, I encourage all kinds of civil action when you are concerned with an issue.
Yep,
that's right.
That's my statement.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we talk with Museum of Fine Arts director Gary Tinterow and the chef who works up all the magic at Bludorn. Aaron Bludorn joins us. And we're also taking your calls on any of today's topics at 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Lucy Caldwell's grandmother never talked about the Belfast Blitz when Germany bombed the city in World War II.
Anytime I asked her, she would always say, "Oh, sure, what do you want to know about that for? There's no good can come of talking of it."
Her curiosity is now a novel, These Days, plus the latest political and economic news Saturday on Weekend Edition from NPR News.
You can hear that tomorrow morning. It starts at 7 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Craig Cohen, the host of Houston Matters. Join me weekday mornings at 9 or at your leisure on your podcast feed for your daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston. From politics to the economy, energy to the environment, healthcare to education to transportation and beyond. If it matters to Houston, it matters to us. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts or live on the air weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on News 88.7.
We believe in your right to free information. Help protect trusted news that keeps us all informed by supporting Houston Public Media. Stand up for your right to information. Give today at houstonpublicmedia.org or call 888-909-0887.
Next time on The Pulse, Kimanzi Constable had a successful trucking business, but he was also working around the clock. And one day, he had an epiphany about his life.
There's more than how we earn money. There's our health, there's our family, there's all these other considerations for life. And I knew that I had none of those things at all.
We'll talk about finding work-life balance.
You can hear it this Sunday at 2 p.m.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8, after a new party politics at 8, join Austin City Limits as they celebrate 50 years on the air with an all-star lineup of new performances and favorite vintage clips. Tonight at 8:30 on TV 8.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And welcome back to Hello Houston. Celeste, Frank, and I are ready to continue these conversations. Remember, not only can you call in to join them at 713-440-8870, you can watch it on YouTube. We are streaming live. You can get there through YouTube or through the HoustonPublicMedia.org website. And remember, we're also interested in your emails. talk@hellohouston.org.
So the Museum of Fine Arts Houston is one of my absolute favorite places in our city. And it has gone through some very extensive changes over the last decade. The Nancy and Rich Kinder Building, which opened in 2020, is absolutely beautiful, holds the contemporary art collection, was the final piece of the museum's campus redevelopment plan that started back in 2012. The redevelopment project led to the addition to the Glassell School of Art, the Brown Foundation Plaza, and the Sarah Blaffer Foundation Center for conservation. The person at the head of this redevelopment project was Museum of Fine Arts Director Gary Tinterow, who's been with the Museum of Fine Arts Director since 2012. That's right. To tell us more about the museum's past, present, and future, we welcome Mr. Tinterow himself. Gary, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hello, Gary. Thank you very much. Nice to be at Hello Houston, and always happy to come back to Houston Public Media.
So I understand you were raised here in Houston.
Yes, I was. So actually, I just drove here down Blodgett Street, which is where our first home was, Blodgett and Delano. So it's all beautifully redeveloped now by TSU.
You've watched the whole museum district really grow up.
I've watched the city of Houston grow up.
Yes. Well, specifically the Museum of Fine Arts, was it a teepee back then, right?
Well, no. It already was a very distinguished museum. We had our first Mies van der Rohe designed building, the first museum building this great 20th century architect created, the Cullinan Hall. It opened in 1958.
Wow.
That was the museum. I remembered growing up, stepping off the yellow school bus in third grade in the 60s, seeing an exhibition of works by the Swiss artist Jean Tinguely, which we recreated in our new Kinder building.
Where did you get your art bug? Were you just
my mother was an artist and a fundraiser, so I was able to merge those two interests into my current position.
Nice. It's funny, it's not just a museum building anymore. It's like you're running a museum city there with all that you have developed and built, and a beautiful addition to the crown that's Houston.
Well, yeah, we think so, and the Seraphim campus is absolutely extraordinary. 3 buildings for the presentation of art. The Law Building, the Beck Building, and the Kinder Building, all by distinguished architects. And then in between, beautiful landscaping, plazas, the Cullen Sculpture Garden, designed by Noguchi, the great Japanese-American artist and sculptor.
And you think about parking when you're doing it, too, which I really appreciate.
Yes, absolutely.
We have 3 parking garages.
So before you were here in Houston, you were in New York. And I was curious. I was thinking about that. What surprises you, Gary, about the art scene here in Houston that you think people don't realize?
Oh, well, everyone is surprised when they come and visit our museum or Contemporary Arts Museum or the Menil Rothko Chapel, etc. Everyone is astounded by the beauty of our premises, the depths of our holdings, how vibrant our programs are. When you're in a flyover state, as far as the media is concerned, people just don't pay attention, except how lucky everyone here is to be able to freely enjoy all of these extraordinary assets.
And you say freely. That's a key word. Talk to me about that aspect. Is that something different from other big cities?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, each museum has its own admissions strategy and funding model, but more than 60% of our visitors at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston obtain admission for free. Excellent. So that we have our free Thursdays, and we're open late till 9 o'clock. Other days, there are admission charges. Everyone under 13 is free. Students with a library card come in for free. College students come in for free. Discounts for seniors, etc.
Gary, we've known each other a long time, and we were chatting right before we came on the air about the fact that over all these years, the museum is still vibrant, interesting, fresh, new. What kind of a challenge is it for you in this position to keep reinventing and finding new to present to us?
Well, I mean, I think if you were to ask my staff, they would say it's exhausting. Everybody, we all work really hard. Yeah. And all of those programs are a result of the 660 people who work at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. It's an enormous enterprise. Yeah. But we're all united in this effort to provide something special to the city of Houston. And that's what gets us going every day.
Where should our interest be lying right now in the work you're doing? And I mean that in the regards to you not only present, but you help us learn about art and where we should be putting our attentions. And where do you think the Houston community should be looking now?
Well, there's so much really on offer in our museum, and not to mention the other museums, which are all spectacular here.
We do have a museum district.
We have a whole, with 17 members, I think.
Yeah.
So there's many things to enjoy, but we have been expanding our collections and presentations at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston into areas other than the traditional European and North American art that has always been the mainstay of our institution. So we have new galleries for the art of the Islamic world. We have a new gallery for Judaica, first time in one of the first encyclopedic museums in the nation to have a Judaica gallery and collection on display. We've increased our Native American and Indigenous art displays. We're enhancing our African art display. We're buying art from all continents and by all people for modern and contemporary building, the Kinder Building, and constantly refreshing our displays. One of our most important initiatives is our Latin American Art Initiative. We have the absolute, greatest collection of 20th century Latin American modernism in the world. No country in Latin America has what we have on view in the Kinder Building.
We keep talking about that. We forget the houses, too, you have.
Yeah, we have two great house museums, Rienzi and Bayou Bend. Rienzi on Kirby for European decorative arts, mainly 18th and 19th, a little early 20th century, but it's a beautiful John Staub building, one of his last houses. And one of his first was Ima Hogg's house, which is Bayou Bend. 1927.
Right time of the year to go visit that,
That's
isn't it?
right.
Yeah, everything's in bloom.
Last year, I took my daughter to the Azalea Trail, and it was just amazing. It was one of our most funnest experience ever going through the museums as well.
And last year was the azaleas were really, timing the azaleas with Azalea Trail is not easy. Sometimes it requires, buckets and buckets of ice cubes on the roots. But last year was a great success.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, all right. I want to say, so somebody's hearing this for the first time and thinking, well, I've got to go see this. What's the beginner guide? Where would you send them first?
Oh, well, I really would hope that you would walk through all three of our buildings with art. So that's the Beck, Kinder, and Law buildings, depending on where you park. So, our epicenter is South Main and Bissonnette, right where Bissonnette becomes Ben's, just north of the Meekum Fountain. And so you park in one of our garages, and we hit you right away with art.
Just wander.
So when you walk, you are experiencing art. And I always, this sounds a little crude, but I always think of visiting the museum as like a car wash. No matter what happens, you're going to come out changed, feeling better, refreshed, and
I love
new.
that. I love
whether you're thinking while you're walking through the museum or whether your mind is simply wandering, it's going to affect you. It's going to brighten your life. It's going to change the way you see the world.
Last thing before we let you go, I'm curious. You've always got something going on in that mind of yours, or something's coming next. What should we be watching for?
Oh, we have some. Well, first of all, you should come now. So April is really spectacular because we're open late now, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights for the month of April.
Oh, great.
So Thursday nights are free. Friday nights have extra programming. Saturday are our premium nights where members get in for free. We have music, cocktails, lectures in all the galleries. We're firing on all cylinders. So please come on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night in the month of April. We have great exhibitions now. Amazing Renaissance tapestries and Renaissance arms and armor depicting a famous battle in 500 years ago precisely. These are unbelievable tapestries and extraordinary armor. And arms and armor always engages people. With a children's area where you can put on costumes, play with a castle, have
just
a chess
for
set.
Children, or can I
hobby
go
horses. The hobby horse is a little small for you, Ernie. But the costumes would fit.
Okay, I'll be there.
Yeah. And then Tamara de Lempicka, the great Art Deco painter, Polish-born, lived in Houston at the Warwick, now the Zaza, and at Regency House on Westheimer and Kirby. So she's an icon. She's up there with Frida Kahlo. And by the way, we're going to have a year from now an extraordinary Frida Kahlo exhibition.
You heard it right here on Hello Houston. Museum of Fine Arts Houston Director Gary Tinterow.
Thank you.
Gary, thank you so much for being here with us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming in. Remember, we are always interested in what you have to say, what's on your mind, what you're thinking. Folks often pop back in after we've covered a story because it takes a little time to get in the line. So we have Joyce from Richmond who called in at 713-440-8870. Joyce, what's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call. On my mind is the walk tomorrow in Houston.
Yes.
And I'm part of a group of women that have recently organized in Richmond called Evening Activists. I will be making signs tonight and headed to the hands-off walk tomorrow. So I just want you to know what's happening out in Fort Bend County.
Well, that is great. Tell me, what motivates you to get out and get involved in these?
We've got to do something to make a change in what some of us consider to be negative changes for us. So we're looking to see what can we do, hands on the ground, and also history, past history. We're motivated by a book called The Small and the Mighty from Sharon McMahon about people who have changed things through history by getting involved and just saying we're not, enough is enough.
Joyce, thank you very much for calling in and sharing with us, and we hope you'll continue to listen.
All right.
Thank you for your show. I appreciate your show.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Our next guest is another Houston fixture for anybody who's versed in our food scene. You just say Bludorn, and you're like, when are we going? He serves new American French-inspired dishes. The man behind Bludorn, Aaron Bludorn, is here with us now, and I don't think any of us could be happier. Welcome to Hello Houston, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I tell you, I've been to Bludorn, especially for brunch.
Yep.
And the latest I want to talk about is St. Augustine at the hotel.
Yeah, Prohibit,
Yes.
our newest restaurant. Yeah,
that is just fantastic.
Thank
For
you.
folks keeping score at home, what's your world of restaurants so they know?
Oh, okay. So we started off with Bludorn, which is turning 5 this year, which is kind of nuts. I know, right?
Wow.
Time flies.
Time to send them to school.
We have Navy Blue down in Rice Village, is our seafood restaurant. We opened up Bar Bludorn just over a year ago in Memorial, and then Prohibit came to us this year.
I love Prohibit. I went to the opening of the St. Augustine over there, and you were serving tons of food.
Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. What a
Oh,
blast.
it's great fun and delicious. Oh my gosh!
So why not just open more Bludorns? Why the different names, the different ideas behind them are, as the artist behind it all, is it expressing different periods of your work?
Well, maybe that's a little bit of it. I think we wanted to start off with Bludorn. That was our enter into the Houston market, the Houston dining scene. And everything just kind of evolved from there. Navy Blue, we wanted to do a seafood restaurant. We were, sort of working on the name and concepting a little bit, and that we found out that wasn't trademarked for a seafood restaurant, so
why not?
Jump on that. Yeah. That works really well.
So you mentioned Bludorn is 5 years old. So you've been here in Houston now for 5 years. How has the food landscape changed just in the last 5 years in Houston?
I mean, it's booming. It is. We were at the Tastemaker Awards last night, Culture Map's Tastemaker Awards, and just seeing, all of the rising star chefs and the quality of chefs that are coming up and opening new restaurants. You have Sean Gall just opened a restaurant, Camaraderie in the Heights. Nick Wong is opening his restaurant, Agnes and Sherman, this year. And there's so much excitement because it keeps coming. Both chefs from Basso just swept the awards pretty much. Mm-hmm. And these are all restaurants I'm either very excited for or love dining in, and it's so exciting to see Houston moving along like that.
It's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, they're all, as you talk about all these incredible new restaurants and chefs, I mean, that also is essentially competition. How in such a tough market and area where people know food and like their food here in Houston, how do you manage that?
I think competition's great.
Yeah.
It's great for all of us. It helps us share ideas, foster new talent. It helps just getting diners excited. More creating more foodies is good for all of us. And going to these restaurants and having these experiences do just that.
I know James Beard loves you.
Oh.
So what do you think about the Michelin stars finally coming to Houston?
I think it's great. At first, I was a little skeptical. I was skeptical publicly about it, but after seeing what it's done to our city and how it's highlighted some amazing restaurants and some chefs doing some really incredible stuff, I think we've just seen more and more over time, and we're going to see them continue to explore Texas as a whole, but then also Houston and just what an amazing food scene we actually have. So,
what do you think it is about you yourself as a person that approaches food in a way that allows you to be able to create menus and restaurants that speak to the community out there? There are so many startups, so many people try this. Mm-hmm. You have been phenomenally successful. There's something in you, in your relationship to food, I would guess. What do you think that is?
Well, a lot of it goes to who I used to work for and where I learned from, which is what Daniel Boulud is, and he used to do that. He's from Lyon, and his calling card is creating dishes from Lyon, but then putting them on the plate at Restaurant Danielle, which is one of the the nicest restaurants in New York City, and I really saw myself as I know moving here that I was going to plant roots down and be here for pretty much the rest of my life, right?
We hope.
Yeah, no, so do I. And I really wanted to become a part of it. And to do that, you have to do the research. You have to understand what Gulf Coast cuisine really is and how does it translate to modern American cuisine, and how do we use what we're doing at Bludorn to help highlight this amazing food scene that we have here and continue to push it forward. And I get ideas from other chefs in town, other chefs in the region, other chefs in the country, and just find ways to continue to create what the next iteration of Gulf Coast cuisine is.
And so what do you think that is? What is the next iteration of Gulf Coast cuisine? That was a tongue tie.
Yeah. Well, look, I think it's highlighting the great diversity that we have in this city. And, Chris Shepard did it a lot at Underbelly. That was truly what Underbelly was about, was exploring the underbelly of the Houston dining scene. And, he laid out the groundwork for all of us to continue to build on top of. And I think that we're, not only just showing off Cajun cuisine, but where those intersections are with other cultures like Viet Cajun, Trong at Crawfish and Noodles does an incredible job of that. You've got all this convergence, and how does it all work together in the beautiful city that is Houston?
And not just food, but cocktails.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's a big part. That's a big part of. Didn't you win a James Beard Award for cocktails?
I did not. But we, I think the cocktail program, seeing what Bobby Hugel has done at Anvil, and then seeing what Alba did it. Alba Huerta did it at Julep, and continuing that narrative, and seeing the city that is so excited about different flavors, different flavor combinations, has really built made this a multifaceted dining scene. So it's really cool.
I'm going to change topic greatly here. For those home cooks that are listening right now, what advice can you give to them to kick it up a notch?
I would say go to your local farmers markets and find ingredients that the farmers are excited about. Sometimes they'll have airline seafood will be there, and you just ask them, have those conversations, and get excited about the ingredients that you're cooking. And that will just, and then research it a little bit. Find out what's the most common way to cook an Arctic char or a
so don't
Gulf
do it
flounder.
Don't do that the way I've always been doing it. Look for a new, fresh approach.
Well, the more someone gets excited about an ingredient, the more you can play off that.
Quick, what's your go-to? You just want to go get something to eat real quick.
Go get something.
Genre, barbecue, Chinese.
I've been going to Chop and Block a lot. At it's Ope's restaurant in Montrose. He just opened up his brick and mortar. It's delicious. Great lunch spot. I love that. I love Vietnamese food. I was just saying crawfish and noodles. I take chefs there all the time.
Nice.
And then we go to Cultivari a lot because we live in the Heights. And it's
yeah.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Always great to see you again. You can find Aaron at Bludorn, Bar Bludorn, Navy Blue, or Percy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ernie. Appreciate it.
Coming up next on Hello Houston, we discuss our last-minute plans ahead of this weekend as Hello Houston continues. Stay with us.
On the next Humankind, we explore the process of listening, really listening to someone, especially if they're in distress and may need a sympathetic, non-judgmental ear. How does that benefit the person you're hearing out? And what's the experience of the listener who must get centered in order to be truly attentive? I'm David Freudberg. Join us for Humankind.
You can hear it Sunday night at 10 p.m. on News 88.7.
President Donald Trump is cutting lots of federal jobs, and this isn't the first time that a president has done something like this.
You can probably always find 5%, maybe 10% in waste and unnecessary workers.
On the next Planet Money, lessons from the 90s when the Clinton administration slashed the size of the federal government. And on How I Built This, the founder of Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams serves up business advice for 2 up-and-coming entrepreneurs.
It's on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Imagine 2 friends getting together.
So what's happening in Congress?
Well, this is something that is going to be tough to defend in an election year. And that's assuming it even passes, which it might not.
Imagine you could listen in.
And then what about the Senate? The bills are just rocketing out of the chamber.
Have they gone too far? The House might say, well, wait a minute.
Well, you can. Party Politics with Brandon Rottinghouse and Geronimo Cortina. Fridays at 7:30 p.m. on News 88.7, at 8 on TV8, and on your favorite podcast platforms.
I'm Christopher Kimball from Milk Street Radio. This week, we're learning how to make the very best coffee at home.
I'm interested in everyone's coffee being a little bit better. So those taste improvements, they have to be meaningful and noticeable to just about anybody.
James Hoffman on the perfect cup of coffee. That's coming up this week on Milk Street Radio from PRX.
Milk Street, you can hear that coming up Sunday at 1 on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And we are back. I'm here with Celeste and Frank, and we've made it.
Friday,
to the end of the week. Friday, Frank.
It's Friday, y'all.
It's Friday, y'all.
That can only mean one thing.
Weekend plans? What
Weekend.
are you guys doing?
It's the weekend. What are you guys doing?
Oh, listen, nothing tonight. But tomorrow I'm going to go to a little celebration of Bubba McNeely. You know Bubba. He's terrific. And then there's a cookie and champagne party that I put into an auction for Cap, and it's at our house.
Oh,
and so the winners are coming, and we're going to make cookies and drink champagne. And then I'm invited to the opera ball at the Wortham. I know.
Well, you are way more exciting than I am.
I've never been. I'm excited.
I'll be at the Minecraft movie. All right.
Okay, well, I'll be at the opera ball in a tuxedo, so I'm very fancy.
I'll be home with my mom
90th
celebrating her birthday.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
that's
And
what we're
then
gonna
are we
have.
all going to watch White Lotus on Sunday night?
Absolutely.
I'm so excited.
Yep, we're going to watch
90
White
minutes,
Lotus.
by the way. It's a 90-minute.
Longest episode.
Gonna be long.
So they're going to kind of tie it all up, hopefully.
Before we get into all of the great weekend plans, Celeste's got a great list for us, and we'll work through those. Frank, again, the weather. How's it going to look for the weekend?
Well, it looks like it might rain on Saturday morning into the early afternoon, and then it clears up and becomes cold and windy as we go into Saturday night and Sunday. Sunday's going to be a lot colder than Saturday. So Sunday, you need to get the fireplace going, make a hot toddy, sit back and watch White Lotus.
You see, I'm not complaining because, again, I know once that summer heat hits, it's here. But I did start to already put away a lot of my sweaters and my kids' jackets. I'm wearing linen today.
It's like spring Celeste right here.
Yes, and let's spring into our weekend plans.
Okay.
So, tonight, the Houston Rockets will play the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Toyota Center. So, sports, right?
Right.
And tomorrow on Saturday, for all of those car aficionados, Post Houston will host an event called Coffee and Cars, which occurs on the first Saturday of every month from 9 to 11. I've actually been. It's a really, really cool event. It's held in the East parking lot and displays hundreds of luxury and exotic vehicles. Plus, there's also an open section for anyone who wants to show off their own car. And then the 2025 Zydeco Fest at Emancipation Park. How cool is that?
That's a huge festival.
It is. It's one of the biggest in the nation.
Yeah.
And you can spend the day dancing, eating, partying, smiling with the best of Zydeco bands. And another music event on Sunday, a concert for jazz and soul singer-songwriter Lady Blackbird will be at Discovery Green as part of their free Jazzy Sundays in the Park series. She's been described as the Grace Jones of jazz.
Oh, wow.
And Jazz Houston Youth Orchestra will open the show.
It really is great, the city we live in, with the opportunities for things like that, the live music, the live culture you can find out in the city and all around. And so this is just another example of all the great stuff they're doing over at Discovery Green, in addition to so many other parks around the area.
It is so fun to go down there. And, honestly, sometimes, we're just kind of hanging out at the house and we'll say, well, let's just go down to Discovery Green and see what's happening. And there is always people flying kites, hanging out. So I definitely love it. And also, all weekend long, you can check out the Riot Comedy Festival. It's a 4-day celebration of comedy with over 50 performers and over 30 shows in the Montrose area. The festival will feature up-and-coming comics and headliners such as Chris Redd, Sam Tallent, Catherine Blanford, and more.
They didn't ask us?
I know. What
I don't
happened?
think we're funny enough.
Yeah.
Oh, you even come with your drum machine there,
Yes.
a little snare there.
Yes.
It's going to be a good weekend, but, White Lotus is dominating it for me. I know you're going to the Opera Ball, Frank, but White Lotus, I'm cued into.
Me too. I really enjoy the fact that it is not just a series that gets you can't binge it. You have to wait for Sunday night to watch it.
I know.
Well,
I
you
appreciate
can.
that.
And if you are waiting to binge it, I apologize for all of us
that's
talking
right.
about it
You've
leading
talked
up
about
to
that.
it. Yeah.
You've
Well,
talked about that,
any guesses as to you want to make a bet? You want to make a bet on who's going to die? Who's going to die?
We are if we give any spoilers.
No, okay. I don't know. I think it's going to be the dad.
Well, I think he's the most obvious.
Oh, okay.
I think he's
well,
the
that's who I
most
think it's gonna be.
obvious that would.
My neighbors and I were talking about this yesterday.
Who do you think?
All right.
I don't think it's going to be anyone in that family because we had the flash forward mental image of him killing everyone, killing himself. And so because they've already played that out, they're not going to play that out in the real show.
Well,
they already got their chance to die on camera.
Okay, so my quick hot take is this: a tsunami is going to take out all of them.
Oh, wow. That would be
Except
interesting.
for the
except
fact of the gunshot.
Yeah, there were the gunshots.
It's not actual. Well, I guess there was a bullet scene, but I think
And a floating
that-
body.
and a floating body. Somebody gets shot, and then they all die.
And
from
then the
tsunami.
tsunami comes.
You know what? As
we're
these
finding
two
out.
continue to ramble on and on about White Lotus, what are your weekend plans? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. Is there something happening in your area, something you're going to see, something you're excited about that we've missed on our list? Call in right now and share it with our audience, 713-440-8870.
And don't forget San Antonio
That's
and the
right.
University of Houston Final Four.
That's a big
is
one.
that going on?
That's going on. That's going to be a huge game as we take on and smear Duke.
That's right.
And
Go
if we
Cougs.
do survive there, what happens on Monday?
Well, then they'll go again on Monday.
And that's exciting. And I've got to say, as Ernie was saying, give us a call at 713-440-8870. It has been so fun this week to launch Hello Houston.
Oh, it's been great.
And
fun.
the response that we have gotten from y'all, Houston, Katy, Cypress, all of the areas that y'all have been sending in your comments, calling in, sending us emails.
Yep.
It has been absolutely a pleasure
It's
to
an
do
honor.
this show this week.
It's an honor
It
for
really,
people to notice what we're doing.
It really
this
has
seems
been.
like this is the point where the music plays and they show a montage of us through the week. Never mind.
I thought you were going to say this is where they play the music for us to cut the mic.
Oh, no, they've been trying that all week, and we keep talking. I will say we had on the show earlier this week, we had Storm Large on the show, and last night I went and saw her show at the Founders Club over at the Hobby Center. A wonderful performer, just such a joy to see it. She's got one more performance tonight, also at the Hobby Center. So if you're out and about looking for something interesting musically you want to see, this is not for the kids. Though I did see a couple that brought a child. It's a more adult nature in the stories.
Either
that
a
she
child that
tells.
will never remember it,
You know, sometimes,
or an adult.
yeah, you got to, sometimes as a parent, you're like, we're going, let's go.
Right. And also, yesterday on the show, Sutton Foster was here. Tonight's her concert at the Hobby Center. A lot going on at the Hobby Center tonight.
Yeah, and if you missed any of those interviews, you can catch them on our YouTube channel at YouTube/Houston Public Media. And, I think it's one of those things where it's just a really exciting time in our city.
Yeah. I was expecting it to be a nice weekend outside, and I was going to work on my
sorry about
side
that.
yard.
We got to post that picture.
We're not posting the picture of my side. Okay. If you want to see the picture of my very sad side yard, let us know. If we get enough response, maybe I'll show you what I have done. I showed it to my neighbors yesterday, and they were like, and you're going to have this fixed, right? And I'm like, this is the fix.
And the other thing is if you're out and about in Houston and you think of something that we talked about, tag us. Go to our Instagram, hellohouston.show, follow us, and let us know what you're doing out in their community, and we'll be sure to let you know what we're doing out in the community. Frank, how did it go yesterday?
It was fabulous. It was the Assistance League, which helps kids that a lot of times are on the spectrum, and schools that help educate those kids. And so the money goes to uniforms and supplies and parties that they have for these kids at Christmas and things like that. And so it's a nice luncheon, and we selling some books. Jean Becker, as you know, my interview with her was yesterday.
That's right. And we also have that on YouTube that you can check out.
Yes. One of Russell Barr was the other author, and he's taken Gringos and Pearland and made it into this multi-million-dollar restaurant chain, right?
Yeah.
Got all kinds of restaurants going on. He was stuck in Toronto because of a snowstorm. I know, and he was devastated that he wasn't going to be there to speak on his book, which is really too bad for us. But he also gave us $1,000 donation.
Wow, that is amazing.
And makes up for it.
And
that was really nice of him.
I thought you were going to say he was devastated that he wasn't able to hang out with you.
Well, I'm sure. I was devastated not to hang out with him. I was looking forward to meeting him, but maybe one day.
Totally.
Speaking of hanging out with things, as we have been talking a lot about White Lotus, and it's coming to an end tomorrow, Sunday night. What's going to fill the void? Are there shows out there that you folks are obsessed with?
Have you watched Mid-Century Modern with Matt Bomar?
I did.
It's supposed to be like Golden Girls, so it's sort of a gay flair. But it was kind of meh. Yeah. It tried to be funny. I didn't think it was that funny. It was written by the same people that did Will and Grace,
right?
And so I had a lot of expectations, but I didn't think it was great.
In another week, Hacks is coming back.
Oh, Kevin loves Hacks.
Yeah.
I'm not so much for Hacks either. Gene Smart's brilliant in it. No question. No question.
I think
I don't know.
I think we need to do a look into streaming services. It seems as though the future of television once again has been wrestled away over to Max and HBO. They're putting out really thoughtful series, shows. People are not talking about these water cooler moments anymore. Except White Lotus has brought that back.
Yeah.
There's something going on there. We got to keep an eye on that.
Absolutely. And we will continue to talk on Monday. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about.
You think
so?
Oh, it'll be all about White Lotus. Hopefully we'll get a lot of call-ins.
We'll save it for the end of the show.
If I'm right, you're buying me lunch. If
That's
if
right.
If it's the dad that goes, you're buying me lunch.
I know exactly where we'll go.
Champs.
Champ Burger?
Champ Burger.
Okay.
That way I don't have to buy you anything.
Oh, deja vu.
Well, that brings us to the end of our inaugural week right here on Hello Houston. And we want to thank you for listening and for being absolutely fabulous, Houston. So join us. We're back on Monday with more conversations. Thanks for joining us. This is News 88.7.
Hello, weekend.
Hello, weekend.
Goodbye, Houston.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Houston Grand Opera, presenting Missy Mazzoli's contemporary